Hi everyone. Today we will discuss how to use text formulas in Microsoft Excel. So usually we download data from the internet and the format of the data is pretty messed up when you export it to an Excel format. So let's say, for example, you have this set of data with surnames, first names, telephone number, and personal email, and you want to clean up the data. So it would be tedious if you will edit each cell one by one, especially if you have hundreds or thousands of rows of information. So we will use the functions of Excel to clean up this downloaded data. So for column E, for example, you want to combine the first name and surname. We can use ampersand inside your formula in order to combine two different cells containing texts. So let's try it. So you start your formula with equal. You click column B since you want to start the end result with the first name. You put an ampersand and then you click the last name. Okay, so the problem with the result, we got the result that we wanted combining the two cells, but there's no space between the first name and the last name. So in order to fix that, we can put again another information. So I inputted quotation marks and the space between. Microsoft Excel reads anything we input inside cells that are between two quotation marks. Microsoft Excel will read that as a text, not a number, not a formula. And then we combine another ampersand again. So the formula reads, we will get the first name, ampersand, to combine it with a space, and then another ampersand, then the surname. Okay, so this now fixed the problem we encountered earlier, that there's no space between the first name and the last name. So to copy and paste this, usually what you do is you click copy, or usually what you do is Control C. This is to copy. And then usually what you do is Control V to paste. Okay, so let's try Control C, and then you highlight the rest. You click Control V. Okay, so aside from using ampersand, there's another way of combining two or more cells with texts using a formula called CONCAT or concatenate. So it will have the same result, but you will use a formula instead. So CONCAT, open parenthesis. If you can see the formula format says text1, comma, and then there's an ellipsis, meaning to say you can combine numerous numbers of cells containing texts. So let's try. Let's click B2, comma, click A2, close parenthesis. So it will have the same problem as well, since concatenate or the ampersand just combines the two texts. So in order for us to have a space again, we will input two quotation marks with a space between, and then separate the texts that we are combining with comma, so that it signifies that there's another text that we will combine. It's either a cell or a hard-coded or inputted figures, in this case, a space. Then let's press enter. So there's another way of copying and pasting in a faster way. So let's Control D. This means fill down. So if we highlight from cell F2 down to cell F9, we will just press Control D and it fills down whatever it is in the first cell that you selected. Okay, so now we have already combined the first names and the surnames in columns B and A with a corresponding space in between. Now, if you notice in column F, since these are downloaded information, it's pretty messed up. So if your objective is to encode first names and last names in uppercase letters, instead of typing everything again, which consumes a lot of time, you can use a text formula in Microsoft Excel called upper. So you just type equals upper, open parenthesis, and then you select which text you want to convert into uppercase letters. So in this case, let's choose the information in column F. And you highlight the whole column, press Control D to fill down. So now everything is in uppercase letters. Consequently, if you want to input information all in lowercase letters, you can use the lower formula in Excel, open parenthesis, click column F, press enter. So now column F is, the information in column F is now in lowercase letters. So let's press Control D to fill down. And there you go. There's another text formula that's very handy in Microsoft Excel. That's proper. So obviously, since these are names of persons, we want our information to be inputted wherein the first letter of the name is in uppercase letters and the rest of the letters are lowercase. So let's input equals. All formulas in Excel are, we started with the equal sign, and then we input proper, open and close parenthesis, click the information in column F, and then highlight it up to the last row of the column and press Control D to fill down. And there you go. The downloaded information or names wherein the letters are pretty messed up and it's quite confusing to look at in columns A to B are now easier to read, especially using the proper formula, which signifies that these are names of people. Okay, let's proceed now to other Excel formulas for texts. What if we want to get a part of the information inside the cell. So let's assume that in column C, the first 2 digits is the country code. The next 4 digits is the area code. And the last 4 digits is the telephone number. Let's use that as an example for our next exercise. So assuming you want to get the country code, which is the first 2 digits in the telephone number column, instead of typing everything again, okay, which consumes a lot of time, especially if you have hundreds or thousands of information, there's this formula in Excel that's seldom being used, which is left. Okay, and as you can see, the output is the leftmost portion of the cell of the text string, and then you will indicate how many characters that you want to show. So open parenthesis, our text here is the phone number, and since the formula uses left, it starts with the leftmost character in the cell, in this case 0. And since you want to show the country code, which is the first 2 digits of the telephone number, you press comma and then input 2 because you want to show 2 characters. So close parenthesis, and there you go. It shows the country code in our example. So let's try replacing the number of characters to 1. Of course, it will only show 0, which is the leftmost character. If you want to show 3 characters, it will include the dash. So let's replace that to 2 again, since we want to show a country code. Highlight the whole column, press Ctrl D to fill down. The right function works pretty much the same way as the left formula. So you will show the rightmost characters, and you can dictate how many characters you want to show. So in this case, we select column C, that's the phone number. The rightmost information is the telephone number, and it's 4 characters. So let's press comma, press 4, and then enter. Now it shows 4983. If we replace this with 2 characters, it will only show the rightmost characters, the 2 rightmost characters in the cell. If we use 6, it will even include number 8, because from the rightmost character, that's 6 characters. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's edit that back again to 4, since our objective is to show telephone number. Then fill down the whole column. Now, please take note that there's a limitation to this formula. You have to make sure that if you want to get information like the first 2 digits of the telephone number or the last 4 digits of the telephone number, you need to make sure that the information in column C, in this case, have the same format, meaning to say it has a country code of 2 digits, an area code of 4 digits, and then a telephone number of 4 digits, separated by 1 dash each. Because if there's a different format there, let's say there's another dash here, it could mess up the output of your formula. So let's say we add another dash here. So it messes up the output of your formula. Okay, so now how do we get the area code, the 4 digits at the middle? So we can use the formula mid to get information, not necessarily or exactly at the middle of the text string or the contents of the cell, but we can start anywhere we want. But you have to make sure that the whole column has the same format, meaning to say, in this case, all area codes start 1, 2, 3, 4 at the 4th character of the text string. So let's start. Equals mid, open parenthesis. The text that we're getting is still in column C, comma. We will start at which number? So it's the 4th character. 1, 2, 3, 4. Comma. And then how many number of characters that you want to show? So in this case, you want to show 4 also. 1, 2, 3, 4. And close parentheses. Okay, so if we will change that, let's say you want to start at the 5th character. Instead of 1, it will start showing number 7. And then 4 characters, including number 7. That's why it includes the dash at the end. So let's undo that. Okay, and then fill down the whole column. And there you go. So now you're able to get the information from a single cell and separate it into 3 different cells, assuming you need these types of information. Let's say you want to sort the telephone numbers using the area code. So now you can do it because the telephone number is inputted in 3 different cells. Okay, so left, mid, and right formulas work, or it's easier to use if the format of the texts in the cell are the same. But what if the format of the cell or the format of the different cells are not the same? Can you still use left, mid, and right? So we can use the Excel formula find to make it simple. So let's do a simple exercise. If, as you can see, the personal email addresses of our downloaded data has two common information. The .com at the end of the personal email and this @ sign, which we usually use in email addresses. But the problem is it is located in different places. So let's say, for example, for Ephraim Reteo, it's located at the 7th. It's the 7th character. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the 7th character. And then for John Red Bautista, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It's the 10th character. So it has different formats. Now let's say our objective is the output is the first letter of the email website. So in this case, we want the output to be G, the first letter of gmail.com, or Y, which is the first letter of yahoo.com, or C, which is the first letter of coolmail.com. So how can we use left, mid, or right when your reference point, which is in this case the sign of the email, has different locations? So we will use find first. Equals find, open parenthesis, what do you want to find? So let's enclose it in quotation marks so that Microsoft Excel will read that as a text, comma, within what text? So let's click column D and then close parenthesis. The start num is optional. So this will be used if there are numerous symbols like this inside the cell. So in this case, there's only one, so no need for us to put this optional feature. So and let's fill down, Control D. The number signifies the order of the symbol that we're looking for. So in this case, it's the 16th character. For Ephraim Reteo, it's 7th character. For Sharil, it's the 8th character. Okay, now since we know the reference point by using the formula find, we can use mid to get the first letter of the email website. So let's use mid. Remember, mid is you can look for information anywhere inside the text string. So let's use mid equals mid, open parenthesis, and then we will be looking for this cell, comma, the starting point. We will use the result of the find formula, which is N2. Okay, comma, 1, because we want to the output to be only one character, and then close parenthesis. So if you notice, if I fill this down, since our reference is the result of the find formula, the results are all the same, is the symbol. So in order for us to get the first letter of the email website, we will just add +1. So instead of a cell reference as the starting point, we edited it to become a formula, cell reference +1. And let's fill this down. Now, so the formula reads that from a reference point, which is the end result of the find formula, we add one more character to the right. So that's the N2 + 1. And then the output is just one character. If we make this 2 characters, it's going to be GM, or 4 characters, GMAI. Okay, so if we want to get the last letter of the surname in the email, we can use -1. Okay, so that's the letter A here. That's -1 from the location of this symbol. Okay, so there you go. That's a neat way of getting text information within a cell. Okay, now let's say, for example, that all these names work for the same company. How can you make email addresses using this format? Let's say, for example, we want this format at cardio.com. Let's put an underscore there. So let's say you want the first letter of the name, and then underscore, and then the whole surname at the website. Let's put it here. So instead of writing it down one by one, you can use the left, mid, right, find, upper, lower, proper formulas to make this email address. Okay, so that's right. Equals left. Let's start with the first letter first. We pick up comma 1 because we want only the one character, or the first character. Okay, now as you can see, there's a capital letter here, Cheryl, S. Okay, so we already converted it to lowercase. So let's use column H instead. Everything is in lowercase. Let's use column H and fill down. Okay, next, let's put an ampersand, an underscore here so that it will just be common to everyone. Next is we get the surname. So we still don't have a lowercase surname only column. So let's just prepare a formula again. Okay. So let's try. Equals CONCAT, open parenthesis. This is the first text. The second text is this one, underscore. Next is the surname. Next is, let's put an ampersand here. Next is cardio.com. So if you notice, I already put the cell name. I converted it to website. So how do you do that? You just put a name in the cell reference. So I will discuss later what's the significance of that. Okay. So let's fill down. Now, as you can see, it's pretty messed up. This one is correct. J, Jazz, underscore, Villanueva. We have to put the sign. At cardio.com. Okay. So if you notice, what are the highlighted cells in the formula? So we're picking up the first letter, and then the underscore, then surname, and then the at, this one. So if you notice, there's no underscore in the second one, because if you look at which cells are included in the formula, it didn't pick up these two symbols at the top. The reason is we didn't anchor the cells when we copied it. So what do you mean by anchor? You click the cell. When you copy from row 2 down to row 3, if you notice the row numbers, everything is changing. It adds another row to the bottom. Because the end result in this column, O2, you copied it down to O3. So you added one row to the bottom. All the cell references will also add one more row to the bottom. So how do we anchor cell references in the formula? So copying O2 to O3, you add one row. Let's start with the first letter of the first name. If you copy this down to here, you want to pick up letter E as well, because it's the name of Ephraim. And then when you copy this down to this, you want to get J, or the first letter of Joshua's name. So the first text, we will retain it as is because it correctly captures what we intend to do, which is to get the first letter of the first name of each person. Now the second text, Q1, is underscore. If we copy it from cell O2 down to O3, it becomes Q2, meaning to say, instead of copying the underscore, it copies Villanueva instead. So in order to fix that, let's press F4. So click the cell reference first and press F4. Now there are dollar signs in this cell reference, so you are anchoring both rows and columns, and let's press enter. Now for Q2, you are picking up the surname. So if you copy and paste it here, you still want to get the surname of Ephraim. You still want to get Reteo. So no need to anchor Q2 because you want it to move downwards as well. Once you copy it downwards, you want to get the information to its from its corresponding row as well. So no need to edit the cell reference. For R1, you're picking up this symbol. So when you copy and paste it down, so if you notice R1, it changes to R2, it's picking up a blank. Same with the next row, it's picking up a blank. So you want to fix that because you want all these rows to pick up this symbol. So let's anchor that. Let's press R1 in the formula bar and click F4 to anchor that. Okay, now you notice that the last cell reference, instead of the usual alphanumeric cell reference like A1, R6, it shows a name. So you can actually rename a cell reference. Let's say this one. It's R, which signifies the column, 10, which signifies the row. You can change that. So let's say phone, enter. So the cell reference is now changed to this name. The significance of that is no need for you, when you copy and paste formulas which has cell reference to this cell, which is now named the website, and you copy it elsewhere, no need for you to anchor the cell reference with $signs so that it will be fixed, because renaming a cell ensures that when you copy and paste formulas with this cell reference, it's already anchored there, because there's only one cell with this cell reference name, website. That's why when I copied and pasted it downwards, it's picking up this name, cell reference name, and not the usual alphanumeric cell reference. So since we already fixed anchoring the two symbols above, let's copy and paste it downstairs. So as if you can see, before we fix that, after the first letter of Ephraim's name, it picks up Villanueva instead of underscore. It's because when you copied from O2 and pasted it down to O3, so you're copying one row down, the cell references, all the cell references are also adjusted to one row downwards. So instead of picking up the underscore and this symbol, this formula is picking up one row down from those cells. Consequently, the next one, it's picking up two rows down from that cell because you did not anchor it by using $signs in the alphanumeric cell references. So in order to fix that, either you put $signs to anchor your cell references, or rename the cell itself with a unique name so that no need for you to anchor your cells when you're copying and pasting formulas. This is a common error that everyone experiences when they copy and paste formulas. So don't forget to anchor your cells, or just rename your cells from alphanumeric references to a specific name. So now let's fill it down. Let's highlight the whole column and press Ctrl D. Now everything is fixed because you already anchored, as you can see, P1, Q1, and R1. Although there's no P1 because it's now renamed as website, those three cells are now anchored either by putting $signs or renaming the cell reference to a unique name. When you copy downwards, it's anchored there. But for those cell references in the formula that's not anchored, like P2 and Q2, which is the first letter of the name and the person's surname, once you copy and paste downwards, you also want the formula to correctly get the inputs from one row down, two rows down as well. So it moves with the location of the formula. The cell references move with the location of the formula. So one row, two rows down, three rows down, four rows down. Okay, so there you go. Now we have prepared company email addresses for these 8 persons in our example. All right, so I hope you learned something new today. Especially text formulas are seldom being used in Microsoft Excel. Please like this video and share. If you learned something new, especially, please subscribe to my YouTube channel as well. This is Sir Bags, and wait for more videos that I will post so that I can share some tips and tricks in Microsoft Excel with you. See you next time. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.